Welcome, everyone. We are so happy that you're all here for the 2021 mixed in-person and virtual launch of the Green Teams program. So this is more challenging than last year when we were entering into COVID with 100% virtual, because now we're partly here and partly watching from afar, which has its own benefits. It's all good. So, good afternoon, bienvenidos, bienvenue, svagatam, and welcome to the Green Teams Internship Program launch for 2021. For this event, English to Spanish simultaneous translation will be available. Please select the interpretation button within the bottom panel of your screens if you're on Zoom in order to access this feature.
Buenas tardes a todos. Bienvenidos a la sesión de hoy. Recuerden que habrá traducción simultánea del inglés al español. Una vez que usted vea el globo en la parte de abajo de su pantalla, ustedes pueden oprimir el globo y escoger el idioma español, Spanish, para que puedan escuchar la presentación traducida de manera simultánea del inglés al español. Cuando el globo si usted vea el globo en su pantalla, usted podrá entonces tomar esa acción.
Gracias. And if you're in the room and you would like translation, we can provide you with a device for that.
También, si usted desea escuchar, si usted está dentro del salón allá en la universidad y desea escuchar la traducción, también le podemos dar un equipo, un sistema que usted puede ponerse en el oído para escuchar la traducción también allá en la universidad, en persona.
I'm Amy Taninga, the director of the PSEG Institute for Sustainability Studies at Montclair State University. And I'm happy you are all joining us today as we navigate the road coming back from COVID. I was saying we feel a little bit like the awkward age of a teenager before you get your braces off, where we're half here and half elsewhere. So hopefully by the final presentations, August 4th, we'll be, ready to come out and enjoy the program fully. So we're partway on this path, and we're incorporating both in-person and virtual components of the program. For Green Team members, we have about half of us here and half of us are virtual for the Green Team members, as well as the speakers and the participants, so completely mixed. We hope you are joining us in a safe and comfortable way. And regardless of modality, the PSEG Institute for Sustainability Studies Green Teams continue to address key sustainability challenges through their knowledge, creativity, and innovation. We have many exciting items to share throughout the launch today. They're sprinkled throughout, so you'll stay with us to the end, and some new components we'll share at the end as well. So right now, I'd like to introduce you to our dean, Dr. Laura Billings, an applied mathematician who studies chaos theory and models stochastic complex systems in ecology and epidemiology, like the spread of COVID. So Dr. Billings received her PhD in applied math from the University of Colorado Boulder and her BS in mathematics from Lafayette College. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Billings.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Taninga, and the rest of the PSEG Institute for Sustainability Studies for inviting me to this exciting event. It really is so nice to see a whole bunch of you here. I kid around, it's like the Tonight Show. So we have the live in studio audience. We got the remote people. Unfortunately, I'm not quite so funny. Anyway, but on behalf of the Provost and the College of Science and Mathematics, I would like to give you a very warm welcome, especially to this year's Green Teams interns and their families. Yay! We are also thrilled to welcome the Green Team's hosting organizations. Yay! I also want to thank everyone else that's here in person and virtually. So we have our academic colleagues, our community members, and their friends from other organizations, and we're all here to join in this kickoff event today. Okay. Yes. So let me give you a little background. Since its inception in 2016, The PSEG Institute for Sustainability Studies has played a critical role in advancing local sustainability actions within Montclair State University, in New Jersey, as well as internationally, by developing community-engaged research projects and building educational programs through academic, corporate, public partnerships. The Green Team's internship program is a hallmark example of the Institute's successful efforts. Montclair State is fully committed to sustainability, and I want to take a few minutes to highlight some of our key sustainability initiatives. So in the last 5 years, we have constructed 3 LEED buildings, LEED, 1 gold, 1 silver, and 1 certified, and we expect another gold level certification this summer. So one of the buildings is the building you're in right now. The Center for Environmental and Life Sciences, or as we call CELS, is a 107,500 square foot LEED gold certified science facility devoted to environmental and pharmaceutical life science research. So here we are. And there's a nice plaque out front if you want to read about it. In 2020, MSU joined the Energy Star Higher Education Benchmark Initiative, which calculates the campus's consumption in order to reduce energy its usage and to educate students and employees on energy conservation techniques. Also, did you know that MSU has a photovoltaic array? That's solar panels for people like us applied mathematicians. It is generating electric power for one of our residence halls. The array produces approximately 3,450 kilowatt hours of electricity per year for Alice Paul Hall with no pollution. Also, you may have heard of our microgrid. So since 2018, it incorporates 5.3 megawatts of emergency generation, which can run indefinitely on natural gas and more than 4 days on fuel oil in case the supply of natural gas is interrupted. This provides an unparalleled level of resiliency and the ability to maintain power even when regional grid power is entirely down, which is very important for some of our computation on our research facilities upstairs. We need to work on the fossil fuel part though. So last thing I wanted to talk about is in 2018, MSU established its first ever community garden. You might have seen it on your walk in from lot 17. We see the garden as a way to strengthen the connections between members of the Montclair State University community and bring our community closer together while sustainably providing fresh foods and educational resources to our community members in need. So these initiatives and the work by the PSEG Institute for Sustainability Studies follows the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. So this is the global framework developed by the United Nations for a safer, cleaner, and more prosperous world by 2030. The goals address the world's biggest challenges, ranging from poverty and gender to climate change, inequality, and closing the finance gap. But overall, the action to meet the goals is not advancing at the speed or the scale required. The COVID-19 pandemic and its impact on the sustainability development goals has shown that what has began as a health crisis has quickly become a socioeconomic crisis. So programs such as the Green Teams are vital for fostering the innovative, diverse, and adept leadership required to address the ambitious effort to deliver the promise of the goals by 2030. They are proud to accelerate efforts in what the United Nations General Assembly proclaimed as the decade of action. And we will follow the 3 A's: awareness, action, and accountability. More specifically, we need to mobilize everyone, everywhere, which requires each of us to be aware and to take action, individually and collectively, locally and globally. We need to demand urgency and ambition, which holds leaders accountable for inaction. We need to supercharge ideas to solutions, which drives sustainable innovation, financial investments, and technology. It is this global vision that fuels the worldwide push to ensure a better planet for us and for future generations. And today, we are here to cheer on the Green Teams, whose projects will be an important contribution to the decade of action. As Mahatma Gandhi said, famously quoted, I should say, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." So with that being said, I would like to thank everyone for their time and give another warm welcome to this year's green teams, their families, and the hosting organizations and our guests. We look forward to seeing the projects unfold this summer and enjoy the rest of this kickoff meeting. Thank you.
And now one of our two amazing project managers, Vicki Olivier, is going to come and introduce our next speaker.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am so happy to introduce Dr. Glenn O'Neill. Dr. Glenn O'Neill has received his bachelor's in science and chemistry at the University of Delaware in 2008 and received his PhD at Tufts University. In 2016, he became the assistant professor in chemistry and biochemistry here at Montclair State University. His group works on developing creative new tools for making measurements in complex systems, such as designing ready-to-use analytical devices using 3D printing, using semiconductors to develop new scanning electrochemical probe techniques, measuring single entity electrocatalytic events. He has received a career award from the National Science Foundation and a Contral Scholar Award from the Research Corporation for Science Advancement. He will also be leading a green team this year focused on innovative energy storage solutions. Please welcome Dr. Glenn O'Neill.
So thank you so much for the introduction. And sorry I can't be there in person. Unfortunately, my wife had a workplace COVID exposure yesterday, and we were told by her employer to stay home. So I was on campus this morning ready to, all dressed up and ready to talk. But unfortunately, we thought it would be safer to not. So my apologies. Hopefully we get to meet in person soon. So today I'm going to talk about carbon-free energy storage using some tools that my group and I have developed over the last little while. If you would like to get in contact with me afterwards, my contact information is here, and I'll post it. It'll be on the last, my acknowledgement slide as well. So the vision for this is basically what we call lab on a bit. It's a methodology for fabricating devices using a computer. So we design devices to perform some function. In this case, we're looking at energy storage using water splitting. But we can design these devices on a computer, we can model them, and we can fabricate them in a single step using 3D printing. The reason that that's important and the reason that you should care about it is because everything is done on a computer and fabricated simply with a 3D printer, we can send our devices anywhere in the world just over an email. And routinely, I send devices that we make and have published to groups all over the world. So anyone with access to a 3D printer can replicate our data or can use our devices to solve problems that we hadn't thought of yet. And so this broadens the impact of our work. And so the few things that we care about are mostly related to energy storage and sensing, chemical sensing, okay? The other reason we like this is that 3D printing enables new opportunities for design because we can make things that are impossible to make otherwise. So it's impossible to make certain features using classical fabrication techniques, and 3D printing opens up this big world of opportunity for us. Okay. So why do we care about renewable and sustainable energy? Right now, the energy demand on Earth is about somewhere between 18 and 20 terawatts, depending on how you calculate it. A terawatt is 1 trillion watts, and a watt is 1 joule per second. So 20 trillion joules per second of energy are being used on average on Earth at every single second, okay? That is projected to grow. It's a tremendous amount of energy, and it's only projected to grow by approximately 14 additional terawatts by 2050. So the way we keep up with this energy demand now is using fossil fuels, oil, gas, coal, and some other renewables and nuclear power and others thrown in as well. On the right-hand side of the slide, I've listed a whole bunch of potential renewable energy targets. And if you look at the approximate amount of energy we can gain from each one of these targets, wind, biomass, tidal, hydroelectric, the only one that can meet the energy demand that we currently have and can meet the projected energy demands of the future is solar. And basically, the reason we can do that is because solar energy is so abundant. There is approximately 120,000 terawatts of energy reach the surface of Earth at any given moment, okay? That's a tremendous amount of energy, more than we can use. more than we need by several orders of magnitude. However, and actually the way that math works out is more energy from the sun hits the earth any given hour than we need in a year. So about every hour, the amount of energy that hits the surface of the earth from the sun is equal to our yearly energy demand. So it's a tremendous amount of energy. The problem is that solar energy and other forms of renewables are intermittent. What I mean by intermittent is that they don't provide continuous power. The sun doesn't shine 24 hours a day. And if you have solar panels like we have on one of the residence halls on Montclair State's campus, you cannot harness those electrons that are generated from the PV panels to power stuff when the sun is not shining. So that requires us to store the energy in some way, to collect it when the sun is shining brightly, and to store it for later use when the sun isn't shining, like at night. Okay, and everyone likes using their laptops or watching TV or using their microwave after the sun goes down. So this is a tremendously important thing. One way that we can store energy is in chemical bonds. And the way we do this is called electrolysis. So what we do is use the electricity from a renewable source to drive a chemical reaction that we can then collect the products of and use later on to return back and collect energy from. That's shown schematically in this photo here. So either you have sunlight shining on a photovoltaic panel or a solar cell, or wind turbines collecting wind. The electrons from those processes are going to be fed into an electrolyzer, a tool for doing this chemical reaction, or an instrument for doing this chemical reaction. And we can transform low energy reactants, things like water, and abundant things like water and carbon dioxide into what we call high energy products, things like hydrogen gas, oxygen gas, and other hydrocarbons. Okay, so we can use these things that are abundant and renewable to store our energy needs. And broadly, I'm going to be talking about hydrogen here, so that's what I think we should focus on. And hydrogen is an interesting case, and there are some major reasons why you would want to use hydrogen, and there's some interesting companies that are leading the way, sort of trying to develop a hydrogen economy. And so these are all examples of hydrogen fuel cell cars. All of these cars run on hydrogen fuel cells, which means they use hydrogen gas and oxygen gas to power the car. The only waste product from every one of these cars is water. And so they have a tailpipe in the back, but instead of releasing exhaust, they basically emit clean drinking water that you can actually drink. So there are a lot of examples of people like collecting the water from the back of their car tailpipe and drinking it. So transportation is a big factor, but it also plays a role in the utility space. So also, most of this is in much of this is in Europe, but we can look at things like load leveling on the grid and also power to gas. We can use it for industrial syntheses and a whole lot of other applications. So utilities and both transportation and utilities are both major players in the hydrogen economy. What is it going to take in order to make this more widespread? Because it's sort of a niche market right now. You can buy a hydrogen fuel cell car, but you can't buy one in New Jersey. You have to buy it in California or Japan, where they have hydrogen fueling stations. So what's it going to require for us to make this more widespread? And the DOE projects, the Department of Energy projects, that it will take $2 to $4 per kilogram of hydrogen, and a kilogram of hydrogen is about a gallon of gasoline equivalent. So it's the equivalent energy from a gallon of gasoline. Okay, and that's what it's going to require for us to sort of develop this hydrogen economy. Okay, so what's preventing that? Well, in order to understand what the costs are, I'm not going to go into too many details about the cost of these things, but basically we need to make electrolyzers cheaper. Okay, and in order to do that, we need to understand how electrolyzers work. There are two main examples of electrolyzers that are useful for our discussion here: PEM, or polymer electrolyte membrane electrolyzers. Those work in acidic solutions, and alkaline electrolyzers, they work in basic solutions. In either case, an electrolyzer is two electrodes, so two pieces of metal that are placed into a solution of water, okay, with some stuff dissolved in it, either acid or base. Those two electrodes have a power supply connecting them, one to the negative terminal, one to the positive terminal. We use that power supply to drive an electrochemical reaction at each one of those electrodes. On the cathode, we're going to be making hydrogen. On the anode, we're going to be making oxygen. In order to complete the circuit, so if you remember back to your high school physics or college physics, in order to have an electrical circuit, you need to have electrons moving around the whole thing. Electrons don't move very happily in solution, so what we have to do is move ions in solution. We put a membrane in between these two electrodes to both complete the circuit with ions and also to keep the products apart. So hydrogen gas, if you remember that, if you've seen pictures of the Hindenburg, is extremely explosive, and it's especially explosive when it comes into contact with oxygen. So we need to keep these two product streams very separate, and the membrane does that very well. However, membranes are a problem. They're extremely expensive, and the way the membranes are assembled contribute to about 5% of the cost of hydrogen. So 5% of the per kilogram cost of hydrogen, it's a little bit less than 5%, but ballpark average, it comes from the membrane electrode assembly. They also foul and degrade and need to be replaced. So over time, they go bad. They require very pure water, and they require noble metal catalysts to be used. And they necessitate that the devices are very complex. And just to show that schematically, this is an electrolyzer, a very simple one, actually, from a company called Nel, which is a Norwegian company. And you can see that there's a whole lot of stuff going on. If you want to, I can share these slides, and if you'd like to click through, you can go through all the pieces of instrumentation that are required to make this electrolyzer work. But it's shown schematically here. You can see that there are a whole number of different components, cell stacks and membranes and fluid routing and all this stuff. And it's a very, very complex thing. The question we were asking is, can we have these membraneless devices that perform to the same? Can we basically do this electrolysis without a membrane, right? So in order to do that, we had some design constraints. So whenever we engineer something new, we want to think about what we want the final device to look like. So we want it to be simple for low maintenance and assembly costs. We want it to be inexpensive to make the market opportunities the widest. We want it to be efficient because we want every electron that we spend our time and energy investing or collecting from sunlight. We want every one of those electrons to be used for a chemical reaction that we can store. We want these devices to be versatile. So we don't want to be stuck to using one electrolyte or another because there are issues with those systems. We want it to be safe. So we have to keep the hydrogen and oxygen separate. And we want to make it scalable. So it's fine to do this on our lab scale, but we want to make sure that we can do it for real applications, maybe for home storage or something in the future. Okay. So how do we do this? Basically, we have a very simple device that we make out of only 3 components: a cathode, an anode, and an electrolyte inlet. Basically, the way the electrolyzer works is we flow solution through the electrolyzer. We apply voltage across these 2 electrodes. On the negative electrode, we're going to make hydrogen, that's represented with the green bubbles here. On the positive electrode, we're going to make oxygen, that's shown by the blue bubbles here. We have that ion crossing, so we can complete our electrical circuit. Okay. And basically this works. You notice there's a product separator placed downstream, which keeps the hydrogen and oxygen gases separate. Okay, so extremely simple. And when we came up with the idea, it was surprising that no one had done this before. Okay, we make all of these things using inexpensive stuff. All the plastic bodies are 3D printed, and the electrodes are just modified titanium mesh that you can buy on Amazon for extremely cheap. Okay, so that's how we do it. The electrodes are not 3D printed in this case. We had to purchase them, modify them, and epoxy them in place. So this is, I think, the future is sort of what the green team can investigate this summer. The electrolyzers work in a whole bunch of different solutions. So a whole bunch of different types. They are electrolyte agnostic, as we say. So they work in just normal salt solutions. So sodium sulfate is just a salt solution. Sulfuric acid is an acidic solution, so similar to what you would see in a polymer electrolyte membrane electrolyzer, and KOH is an alkaline solution, so similar to what we'd be seeing in an alkaline electrolyzer, and they're relatively efficient. So from the higher heating values, they range from like 50 to 80% efficient. Okay, so this is really nice. They're versatile and they're efficient and they're simple so far, and they're safe. We know that because we can measure the product crossover. So in this experiment, what we're doing is measuring how much hydrogen gas crosses over from the negative electrode into the product stream of the positive electrode. So hydrogen gas is generated up here. It crosses over this little barrier and then ends up on this side. And what we're doing is using fluid forces inside of the electrolyzer to force those product separations. So laminar flow inside the electrolyzer keeps these products in line. And what we can see is that as we increase the fluid velocity, as we increase the flow rate, basically, you can't tell the difference between the hydrogen sensor and the when there's no electrolysis in the control measurements, so blue, and the hydrogen sensor in the electrolysis on measurement. So at some flow rate, we see no crossover is the take home message here. So these things are safe. And we've confirmed these measurements with a whole bunch of other techniques as well. So what's the future? What can we do with this? Well, my group is extremely well known for, not extremely, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but my group is well known in the community for 3D printing exciting and new and interesting electrochemical devices. And we can do that in a whole bunch of different ways. A whole bunch of different electrogeometries that we've already demonstrated. And I think Edgar should have a prototype. Yeah, I can't see Edgar in the little screen there, but we talked about it before. I think he went to grab a prototype that he actually designed. He designed in the lab this spring, and we have a whole bunch of different applications. So we can measure pH of biofluids, urine, blood, food stuff. We can do trace metal measurements for keeping water supplies safe and measuring water quality, and then hopefully we can do these electrolyzers that we have spent time discussing. So the vision here is to be able to design and print using only 3D printable materials, devices that can be used to store energy. And that's what the green team will hopefully be able to report on at the end of the summer. Okay, so that's the vision. And there's a really talented group of young men and women that are going to achieve that vision, I think. After speaking with them, I'm fully convinced that they're going to do a great job. Cool. So just like to thank my group members, my current and former group, who are all listed up here. Again, if you have questions or you have a concern, you can contact me. All my contact info is here. Collaborators, especially Dan Esposito at Columbia, who I learned a lot of this electrolysis stuff from, and who has been a tremendous help in all this. And I'd like to thank all the people who sponsor the research, including PSEG, for the support of the Green Team this summer. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, or be happy to take questions at the end, whichever is best. But thanks for the opportunity to talk today.
Thank you so much, Dr. O'Neill. Next, we're going to be joined by Gray Russell, who for the past 20 years has served as the Sustainability Officer. Did I get that number right? Yep. Sustainability Officer for the Township of Montclair, where he's led many important and innovative sustainability initiatives. And since I've led the PSEG ISS, he's been a strong supporter and advisor sitting on our advisory board. So come on up, Gray. I'm not done. I'm going to say more about you. So Gray is the municipal liaison to the Montclair Environmental Commission, with whom he co-authored the Sustainable Montclair Planning Guide. Gray led Montclair's bold action together with neighboring Essex County communities, who came together to form the Sustainable Essex Alliance Energy Procurement Cooperative, a joint purchasing initiative with the goal of using bulk purchasing power to procure higher renewable electric power supply for township residents at a low price. Mr. Russell is a certified recycling professional and serves on the board of directors of the Association of New Jersey Recyclers, the Advisory Council for the New Jersey Wastewise Business Network, the Board of Advisors for Bike and Walk Montclair, the Board of Directors of Rainforest Relief, the Steering Committee for the Sustainable Jersey Essex Hub, and as a board member of the Cornucopia Network of New Jersey. Recently, Gray led the town to receive first a microgrid feasibility study grant, and now a grant for nearly $700,000 from the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities to create the Montclair Town Center Distributed Energy Resource Microgrid. Gray is changing the world around him in important ways and on a grand scale. He has accomplished a lot in his 30-plus-year career as an environmental professional in a way that he acts locally to contribute to a global impact. He's the resident expert in Montclair, leading us to be a town of firsts for sustainability initiatives, thanks to his vision. So Gray thinks he's actually speaking to us today about, Montclair sustainability initiatives. But we have a surprise for you. We'll let you talk about that afterwards. We actually have Montclair Town Council member Peter Yacobellis here with us today. And he's going to say a few words and offer something to Gray, because Gray's retiring this month.
Thank you, Amy. Hi, everybody. First of all, how do I get one of these shirts? I want to see you all like walking the streets of Montclair, talking to businesses, getting everybody to switch over to eco-friendly materials. Anyway, it's like an army. I love it. Listen, look, years ago when my partner and I were deciding where we wanted to move, you know, two things were very important to us. One, LGBT equality and acceptance, and the other, how eco-friendly and eco-forward a community was. And Mr. Russell has been our sustainability officer and in other positions in Montclair for 21 years, and is pretty much the reason why Montclair has the reputation it has for being that kind of environment, that kind of a place. So the other night at our council meeting, the mayor and the council and I introduced and passed a proclamation recognizing Mr. Russell. I'd like to present you with that today. And I'd also like to note that the team put it in a reclaimed wood frame for you. So I will spare everybody, including Gray, us reading the entire thing, because we did that the other night, but I will read the last paragraph, which I think is the most powerful. Now, therefore, the mayor and council of the Township of Montclair and the County of Essex hereby recognize the many contributions Gray Russell has made to our community and join with his family, friends, and coworkers in recognizing and thanking him for his service to Montclair and wish him a happy retirement in which he can spend time with family and friends and further pursue his many interests. So on behalf of Montclair, congratulations and thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. I really, really am touched by that. I really am. Amy, I'm going to have to get you for this. That is really, I was so honored and so touched just when the council read this to me 2 nights ago, but to get this and especially framed, and it is really beautiful. It's going right up on my wall. So thank you so much for that. And thank you, Amy, so much.
There's more. So we're working with Peter. We are getting permission for you to tell us where you'd like to plant a tree from the PSEG ISS to recognize your contributions. You get to pick the spot. So, yes.
And what's the tree?
You get to pick that.
Really?
Yeah, really, really, really.
Excellent.
It's not going to be a 300-year-old tree, though. We do have a budget. Yeah. Maybe a red bud, because that's the green business. Yes. All right. So we'll let you speak now.
Thank you so much. Well, I will make this short and sweet now. I mostly wanted to say congratulations to you all for being here and being part of the green teams for the 2021 season. It is so exciting, and I have been able to be very fortunate to be here for all of the green team openings for the past 5 years. This is the 6th season, and to watch the whole program grow, and it has grown. And but I got to say, Dr. Tuninga, this looks like the best of the bunch. I got to say, this is the cream of the crop right in front of us. So I am looking forward to the projects you're going to work on this summer. I'm going to tell you all, you really are in store for a wonderful summer season. This is going to be a great experience for you. I can tell you, I can guarantee you, you will not just find this to be an interesting project and even exciting, but you will also find it fulfilling and challenging and really, really rewarding. And at the very least, it's going to look great on your CV, and you're going to have wonderful memories for the rest of your life. You really are. And I am going to be back on campus next week to speak to at least some of you about the specific work that we've been doing in Montclair, along with council like Councilman Jacobellis over the years, and working on these sustainability initiatives. And I wanted to also say, I'm a little bit jealous of you, what you're about to embark on, envious for the projects and the programs you're going to start, and the teamwork and the training you're going to get, and the field trips. When I was starting my environmental work 30 years ago, before I came to work for the town of Montclair, you couldn't learn about sustainability in a classroom. There was no such thing. Even experientially, it was it kind of it had to develop. And you're going to be able to use those tools that you have and to put them to work and to design and to develop solutions this summer. So I salute you, I congratulate you, and I thank you very much for your time today.
He just said I won't forget this, so I'm in trouble. So thank you, Gray, and best wishes in retirement. We hope you will continue working together with us, and we hope to continue receiving your wise guidance. Now, I'd like to share a little bit about the program for those of you that aren't as familiar. Some of you might have seen a little bit of this, but we have some updates that you'll find really interesting, I think. So we'll share a little bit about the program before we make our big reveal about what the teams are going to do this year. And we have a keynote lecture coming up that I think you're going to find very interesting. Nancy Gillis from the Global Electronics Council. So green teams are teams of undergraduates who address global sustainability challenges, work in local communities, and are innovative and thoughtful leaders. Our program builds understanding through its diverse and transdisciplinary structure based on teamwork. And the impacts are deep and far-reaching, as you can tell from our alumni. Can you play the video, please? I'm gonna make sure you can hear what the video says because it's kind of cool.
Health. And at first I was like, oh, a hospital, like this is pretty interesting. But then once I actually got to visit the hospital and meet Kyle, who we were working under as a supervisor, and our connection between the hospital and the teams, I knew that this was a super amazing project and it was somewhere that I wanted to be. I was able to get a lot out of it, just aside from working with a professional team and getting that professional experience, actually working with a hospital and with someone who's very high up in the hospital and getting that executive communication experience is really important for me in my field and what I wanted to go into.
When I first heard about the program, I wasn't sure how I would fit in as a chemical engineering major. And though I had like a very minute background in sustainability, I just wasn't sure if that was something that I wanted to pursue. But then when I got into it and I was able to gain all this experience and learn so much more than I knew, I ended up loving it. And it ended up being way beyond my expectations. You can be from so many different backgrounds, not necessarily in sustainability. We've had people in the program that are in school for Spanish, and they've made such a huge impact because of that. We had one green team member that was able to translate a pamphlet that was in English to Spanish that spoke about sustainability. So having that kind of background and experience that you're going to school for doesn't necessarily mean that this is what the green team is just about.
That's Vicky. So that's some of our alumni. You can check out the full videos on our website if you want to see them. So next, our teams are comprised of 5 students, and always 5 students. 5 for a reason until this year. And you'll have to wait for it because I'll explain a little bit later. The students come from different disciplines, different universities, and different backgrounds, as you'll soon see. Lots of different teams of 5. We train the students in a variety of topics related to sustainability, including the business aspect, the cultural and community component, and of course, the environmental aspect. Over the past 5 years, these are the organizations that have hosted the teams of students. Typically, students go on site visits to their hosting organizations. COVID put a small crimp in that, but we did have some students last year do some in-person work, and as appropriate and permitted and safe, and the same will be true this summer as we transition back. Students work over a period of 10 weeks in the summer with their hosting organizations to develop and deliver high-level sustainability projects. The teams conduct analyses, surveys, research, mapping, engagement materials, creating engagement materials, and reporting, and more. For instance, They analyze and provide technical recommendations to meet a 2-degree scenario, or generate Python code to recommend electric vehicle bus purchases. Or in the upper right here, you can see mapping of invasive and rare species or endangered species in watersheds where our drinking water comes from. And on the bottom right, you see municipal emissions inventories. The teams develop a comprehensive written report for their hosting organization, along with all of the materials they've collected, and they present their work to an open audience at the end of the summer. This summer, the final presentations will take place in our beautiful Kasser Theater here on campus at Montclair State University, and you are all welcome to attend and hear about the outcomes on August 4th from the projects that the students are doing this summer. So over the past 5 years that we've run the program, we've included 210 students coming from 34 universities and over 70 different degree programs on 42 teams. They've completed 144 projects for 26 different hosting organizations. Some organizations have returned year after year. This year, we have 60 undergraduates in the program, and they're participating on 12 teams. They come from 33 different universities and 42 degree programs. These are the colleges and universities from which our participants come this year, just this year. In 2021, we have these 12 hosting organizations that you see, and we'll describe them and the projects in more detail in just a minute. So this is a part, since we have 12 teams, we're breaking it up a little bit this year. And we're gonna start introducing our teams and have them introduce themselves to you. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the organization that they're working for and the project that they're doing, and then they'll introduce themselves to you. So the first team is going to be serving the city of Jersey City, a city with a population just slightly less than Newark, New Jersey. It's one of the world's most ethnically diverse cities. And we work with the Office of Sustainability, which was established in 2018 to oversee the city's sustainability efforts across a variety of departments and sectors. The office coordinates across city departments to improve the city's sustainability practices and develop action plans for meeting the city's climate and environmental goals. The office also researches and implements new community-based sustainability policies and engages with residents to raise awareness of sustainability practices and sustainability resources. So let's have the team come up while I talk about the project. This year, the Jersey City Green Team, building on previous teams' work, will collaborate with the city to use environmental data sensors to collect, measure, and analyze environmental data, including heat mapping of the city. The team and the town will work to analyze correlations between environmental data and other variables. They will utilize this information to provide recommendations and solutions to address environmental inequity issues. And the team will identify actionable policy-related items using the city's climate and energy action plan to develop for future initiatives. Here is Team Jersey City.
Hello. My name is Carl Hauck. I study at Rowan University, and I am majoring in civil and environmental engineering.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ingrid Weedy, and I attend Montclair State University, and I major in geography and GIS.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica, and I'm currently studying economics at Rutgers University.
Hello, I'm Sean Gaffney. I study at William Patterson University, and I major in economics and geography.
My name is Ronan Costello. I'm studying meteorology at Rutgers University.
We can't wait to see what your outputs are at the end of the summer. Team Jersey City. The next team, I believe, is all virtual. We have one person, come on down. The city of Newark, New Jersey, the most populous city in New Jersey with over 250 people, home to Liberty Newark Airport and New Jersey Transit, as well as several large corporations, some of them here today, has a diverse demographic through the median house, though the median household income is approximately $35,000. And about 25% of the population is below the poverty line. Come on up. The 2021 Newark Green Team will focus primarily on projects related to the new sustainability action plan, such as developing public outreach and education materials to share and for the implementation of the plan, as well as developing a database of community-based organizations. They're going to be compiling documentation for helping the city with their certifications for LEED for cities and communities, for Sustainable Jersey Municipality certification and maintaining that certification, and for CDP ICLEI Unified Reporting System 2021 for cities. I'm going to let the team introduce themselves now.
Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie Martinez. I go to St. Peter's University, and I am studying biology.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lucia Wiggers, and I'm a geoscience major at Williams College.
Hi, my name is Lauren Milks, and I study construction engineering technology at the University of Maine.
Hi, I'm Sarah Lebridge. I go to the College of New Jersey, and I study civil engineering.
Hello, my name is Sophia Church. I go to Stockton University, and I'm majoring in sustainability.
This is our team, City of Newark. Next up. So last year, we worked with an organization, a nonprofit called the Northern New Jersey Community Foundation. And their team visited a vertical farm called Greens Do Good. And we are grateful to the Northern New Jersey Community Foundation for the opportunity to work with them and for introducing us to Greens Do Good. So team Greens Do Good, come on down. Greens Do Good is a vertical farm located in Hackensack, New Jersey, that is transforming the way our local community sources healthy produce by providing the freshest ingredients in a sustainable and socially responsible way. This summer, Greens Do Good, the team will work on the expansion of production within the vertical farm, and they will assess the total environmental impact of such an expansion, including examining energy and water usage and the drain on current HVAC systems and humidity controls. Additionally, they will conduct an energy audit to quantify energy use and propose ways to increase energy efficiency. They will conduct an environmental assessment to determine how Greens Do Good is impacting the environment and ways to reduce that. And they will assess the profitability of infusing sustainability throughout to make real changes in the bottom line.
Hi, everyone. My name is Annabelle Simhan. I go to Rutgers University, and I'm majoring in environmental engineering.
I'm Chloe Rodriguez. I go to Ramapo College and I study sustainability.
Howdy, my name is Juan Arango. I'm a senior mechanical engineering at Texas A&M University.
Hi, my name is Morgan Nash. I'm from Rider University and I'm studying dance performance as well as earth and environmental science.
Hello, I'm Bruce Wolgemuth and I go to Rowan University and I'm studying electrical and computer engineering.
Thank you. That's team's going to do good. Okay, our next team is Hackensack Meridian Health, and now it's the Hackensack Meridian Health Network, is a leading not-for-profit healthcare organization in New Jersey that includes 17 hospitals and home health services, skilled nursing and rehabilitation centers, ambulatory care, ambulance services, and outpatient centers. Hackensack Meridian Health has consistently been rated among the top performing health systems in New Jersey for clinical quality, and were recognized by Practice Green Health in 2 Circles of Excellence Awards, Greening the OR Recognition Award, and as part of the top 25 hospitals for environmental excellence for the 7th consecutive year. This year, the HMH team will be working to develop a full Scope 1 and Scope 2 inventory, including fleet vehicles, anesthetic gases. I didn't even think about the fact that they're emitting greenhouse gases, so this will be interesting, and refrigerants, using Practice Green Health's greenhouse gas toolkit and online calculator, and they'll begin a Scope 3 inventory. They will also develop plans for emission reduction strategies for anesthetic gas and food waste, using Practice Green Health and the anesthetic gas toolkit and less food to landfill toolkit. They're going to be pretty busy. Here's the team Hackensack Meridian Health to introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Idris Hoffman, go to Rutgers University, and I'm a computer science major.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ronnie Moore. I'm a student at Arizona State University, and I'm studying astrobiology and biogeosciences.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ariana Iyupi. I go to University of North Carolina in Charlotte, and I'm studying Earth and Environmental Science.
Hello, everyone. My name is Trisha McCormick, and I attend the University of Notre Dame, and I am studying history as well as sustainability.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sita Lagempedo. I go to Montclair State University, and I study public health.
Thank you. Next up, you already saw sort of a preview of this. We, for the first time this year, we're piloting a lot of new things this year, but one of the things that we're piloting is embedding a green team in a faculty member's lab, and that is Dr. Glenn O'Neill. So you saw a little bit about that. This team's working on some cutting edge and potentially marketable technology. So Dr. Glenn O'Neill, Dr. Glenn O'Neill team will focus on designing, developing, and testing membraneless electrolysis cells, as you just heard a little bit ago, for producing clean hydrogen for energy storage applications, building off of what you heard earlier in Dr. O'Neill's presentation. So as part of this project, members will also investigate market opportunities for small-scale clean energy storage using hydrogen. The green team will accomplish this by performing iterative design of membraneless electrolyzers using 3D printing, including optimizing channel width, electrode size, electrode placement, and more. Optimizing catalyst loading for maximum device efficiency, quantifying product purity using gas chromatography, performing multi-scale modeling to optimize fluid transport in the cell, investigating gas collection strategies, and investigating potential markets for membraneless electrolysis. Here is the team for Dr. Glenn O'Neill.
My name's Edgar Manriquez. I study here at Montclair State, and my major is chemistry.
Hi, my name is Stephen Douglas. I go to Rowan University, and I'm majoring in chemistry.
Hello, my name is Sebastian Quinn. I go to Rowan University. I'm studying to become a mechanical engineer.
Hi, my name is Robert Clark Jr., and I study business administration here at Montclair State University.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Peebles. I go to Middlebury College and I study environmental chemistry.
Thank you. All right, now we have another new organization that combines some other organizations that we've worked for in the past. And this summer, we're working with the Newark Community Food System. It's a new nonpartisan collective of deeply engaged community leaders who work in partnership with member organizations such as Newark Science and Sustainability and Al Munir. Newark Community Food Systems aims to support and develop sustainability efforts in urban agriculture, as well as wellness and nutrition programs, improving the local food system. And this will be accomplished by tackling social determinants of health and using community-driven problem solving in a fiercely collaborative way. Deliverables for the Newark Community Food System team will develop, distribute, and collect and analyze data from a food security survey to gauge surrounding community resources and information needs and interests. Provide support in identifying and applying for funding for different opportunities. Develop educational materials that will promote Newark Community Food System, including Newark Science and Sustainability and Al Munir, and also inform, engage, and strengthen their relationships with schools, potential partners, and community members. They will also quantify how much food is being grown and distributed, as well as the growing potential. Here's the Newark Community Food System team.
Hello, everyone. I'm Subina Tapalia. I go to school in Soka University of America, and I'm studying liberal arts.
Hi, everyone. My name is Edgar Rouse. I go to Kane University, and I study earth science, environmental science.
Hi, everyone. My name is April Bramble. I study plant science at Fort Valley State University.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jad Saloom. I study at Rutgers University, and I study agriculture and food systems.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer Peroye.
I am a rising sophomore attending SUNY New Paltz, and I am studying music and environmental geochemical science.
Thank you. So if you'd like to follow us on social media or post, you can use these hashtags for Green Teams 2021 and GT Launch 2021. You might note that we also have a radio show now. This is new. It's also a podcast, so you can listen to it Thursdays at 3 or Mondays at 11 on WMSC 90.3 FM, and you can catch the podcast on SoundCloud. It's called The Refresh. So we'll be hearing from our keynote speaker next, Nancy Gillis, and learning about our other 6 green teams for this summer and some other really cool things that are new this year. We're now moving into the keynote portion of our event, and we're very excited to hear from our keynote speaker. So at this time, I'd like to invite Vicki Olivier back up to introduce our speaker.
Hello again. I am very elated to introduce our keynote speaker. Nancy Gillis is the CEO of the Green Electronics Council, a mission-driven nonprofit that seeks to achieve a world of only sustainable information technology. GEC manages EPEAT, the leading global eco-label for IT products. Before joining GEC, Nancy served as the global lead for resilient and responsible supply chains at Ernst & Young. Prior to that, she served as the director of the Federal Supply Chain Office at the General Service Administration, the public procurement agency for the U.S. government. At GSA, Nancy was responsible for the inclusion of sustainability criteria in approximately $450 billion in yearly federal spend to increase the efficiency, reduce business continuity risk, and increase competitiveness of suppliers to the U.S. government. Nancy received her graduate degree in information technology from Georgetown University. Nancy Gillis is committed to leveraging sustainability to reduce enterprise risk, maximize business value, and foster innovation. Now here is Nancy Gillis.
Great. Well, let me turn on my video for a moment. I hope you're able to see me. Hello, I'm Nancy Gillis. As was introduced, I have the honor of being the CEO of the Global Electronics Council. We actually just rebranded a mere 2 months ago from being the Green Electronics Council to the Global Electronics Council. And it is my sincere honor and privilege to join you today. I too am sorry I'm unable to do so in person and hope to be able to actually join in the future time. But what I wanted to talk to you about today is something that you might not hear about as much as one should, which is the fact of purchasing and purchasers as sustainability change agents. And all of you in joining Green Teams are also sustainability change agents. So my goal with the comments that I'm giving today is to talk a little bit about what procurement or purchasing role is in sustainability, and particularly, as the name of my organization says, electronics or technology, the role that purchasing technology can play in increasing sustainability and even circularity globally. So with that, let's start down our path on this presentation. Next slide, please. So first, who is the Global Electronics Council? And as was stated, it is a mission-driven nonprofit. So we have been in existence for more than 15 years, and we're really focused on leveraging purchasing power, and in particular, the purchasing power of electronics or technology. And this is because we understand the pervasiveness of technology, both the positive that it provides, I wouldn't be able to join you today without it, but also still the incredible negative that it provides. And that, of course, is in the terms of not only environmental, but also social impacts. And so as a nonprofit, we actually embrace the power of technology, but we refuse to accept its benefits at the price of people or planet. And so as a nonprofit, what we seek to do is, in leveraging purchasing power, is to educate, particularly purchasers, on the impact that technology has, to advocate for practices in manufacturing and sourcing and design that really, when you look at technology, will improve the health of the environment and the quality of life for everyone. And then, of course, we very much look towards collaboration opportunities because increasing global sustainability is a significant and challenging task. And it really requires organizations to work together, which is why I'm super excited to join you today. Next slide, please. So what I wanted to talk about, of course, is electronics. And why is the purchasing of electronics important? Well, because everybody's buying it. As you see here on the slide on the left, the top graph is you see a progression from 2012 to 2022 of just this increase in the procurement of electronics. What do I mean when I say electronics? Well, in our world, it's not just what you think of as computer equipment, not just desktops or laptops or tablets, not just mobile phones. Even those, of course, are included, not just monitors and televisions. It's increasingly anything that has a plug. And so you see a lot of that being bought. You see on the bottom graph, a lot of it was already being bought, but COVID really made a lot more of it being bought. And of course, as people were attempting to stay safe, to sequester themselves, what were they doing? They were needing electronics. They were needing those desktops and those laptops and those tablets to engage, to continue to do their studies as you would, but they were also using those electronics to buy more electronics. And so if you see here, the actual chart on the right of the screen, mobile e-commerce is up. And so not only are we buying more of electronics, we're using electronics to actually do that purchasing. And so it's just a lot of use of IT. Well, okay, then as you probably know, there are some challenges with the use as well as the benefits. One of the biggest challenges is the biggest waste stream problem that's facing the globe right now. Next slide. You should know that we are facing a waste problem. What is that waste problem? It is particularly e-waste. And as I mentioned, when we're talking about technology, we're not just talking about the normal electronics that are in your personal space, in your office or your dorm room. We're talking about the electronics in your home. We're talking about toasters and vacuum cleaners and refrigerators and washers and dryers. A ton of those things that are becoming waste, making e-waste the largest waste stream globally. But it's also inclusive of the IT that all of us rely on. And as you see here, it's not a small number that screens and IT, such as mobile phones and laptops and tablets, are part of that e-waste stream. Not as big as some of the small equipment or even large equipment, but definitely not an inconsequential number. And when you think about e-waste, well, where's our e-waste going? So think about, what have you done with your old mobile phone or your out-of-date laptop? And what does actually out-of-date mean? That's a question for a later time. What most people have done is they're confused. First of all, what do I do with my electronics? But for those who put those electronics, throw them away, a lot of those electronics actually don't remain in the United States or in Europe. As you see here on this graph, a lot of those electronics actually are exported. And as you see here, e-waste generated each year, give or take about 41.8 billion tons of this. And much of that is exported. The leader in exportation is Asia, but the United States, Americas, and Europe are almost equitable in the amount that they generate and then push to other countries. And that's actually a serious problem, a serious social issue in that you have then many of these other countries, as you have noted here, be it India, countries within the African continent, or in Southeast Asia, that are grappling with these piles of waste. Electronics waste is comprised of a number of hazardous materials. And so you have people who are trying to deal with hazardous materials who are worst equipped to do so, and that they don't necessarily have the protective equipment. So this is a major challenge. And of course, if you see these trends of more technology being bought, you can understand why this waste stream is growing as well. But I mentioned it's not just the buying of it, it's the use. So let's just talk small scale, the use of technology, the impact of that. Next slide, please. So there's not anybody who hasn't, next slide, hasn't used, whoops, my graphic disappeared. That's interesting. Yes, even the smallest uses add up, and there should be an attractive graphic that talks about the impact of email and the fact that even sending an email has a greenhouse gas consequence. And it's a small one, but in aggregation, when you start talking about the fact that there is approximately half of the world's population that now has the technology to actually send emails, be it, of course, using smartphones or tablets, not necessarily always desktops and laptops, but increasingly, of course, the technology is getting smaller and smaller, and therefore more and more people are able to access it and utilize it. But what's happening is these small uses are adding up. And in fact, when you start thinking about the aggregation of those uses and the network necessary to support them, and what you start getting is significant greenhouse gas output. And in fact, there's an approximation that at this time, our whole ecosystem of these gadgets that we use to do our emails and to do Googling and to look at online, any of the reviews, TripAdvisor, things of that nature, just those activities that we don't give a thought to have significant consequences. And some of those are even surmised to be as much as what the airline industry globally has, which is a significant GHG emitter. So these small uses add up. Next slide. What do you do about this? What are we supposed to do? Well, I was asked in my presentation today to focus on solutions, not just problems, because that's what green teams do. They focus on solutions. So here's an approach. What one could do is if every adult in the United Kingdom sent one less thank you email, it could very much result in a reduction of carbon a year. And you see this equitable to about 3,000 or so diesel cars. So there's one approach. We can just try to get the entire country of UK to just not be friendly. I don't think that's going to be one that one of the green teams wants to approach. So let's go back to the drawing board and let's talk about maybe some alternative approaches. And let's talk about maybe what the role of procurement can do in this. Next slide. So what we think about is the fact that technology has life cycle impacts. And I'm sure that many of you, because I was able to see the introductions of the members of the green teams that have already been announced, many of you have probably already had some exposure to life cycle or what life cycle thinks about. But for those of you who haven't, when we're talking about life cycle, we're talking about the phases of a product. And for most of us, when we think about products, we think about one phase, which is the use phase. And we have the product and we're using it. But that's not when those environmental or social impacts actually start. They start at the raw material or extractive phase. You got to get the stuff to go ahead and put the products together. Of course, that applies to most everything, IT products inclusive. Then there is turning the stuff into components, pulling those components together into an end product. You finally hit product use phase. We're used to using it, where a lot of the original focus of sustainability for products looked at. And then, of course, though, as we were just talking about, there's end of life. And of course, the major areas for technology right now, when you're talking about sustainability in an environmental focus, is still on product use. There's been a lot of efficiency gains in how technology products, how energy efficient they are when we have them on. There's now a lot of focus on the efficiency gains that are available to us during the manufacture and product assembly phases. And there's a whole bunch of recognition of how valuable it would be to actually increase the efficiency of end of life to where we don't have mounds of e-waste that are being shunted out of certain countries to other countries for people who don't have necessary access to the protective equipment to deal with it. But that is something that we can't continue. So there's a lot of focus on how to increase the way that we address end of life. And purchasing power is a way to do this. So purchasers increasingly, when they think about what they buy, they think about, well, what are the consequences of my purchasing decision? I hope when you are buying your technology that you're thinking about that. It's an easy thing to forget, but when you think about the impacts of e-waste and GHGs, which align with climate change, you should be thinking about buying sustainable technology. I work with large-scale purchasers. So the Global Electronics Council actually supports large-scale institutional purchasers. We're proud to say that Hackensack Meridian is one of the large-scale institutional purchasers that we support as they try to make sure that what they're buying is sustainable technology. Because, of course, they're in the business of health and well-being, and you don't want to be in the business of health and well-being while buying and utilizing technology that's in the business of not being good for the planet or for the people on it. So that's how we leverage purchasing power. And that's actually something that is really a new area. So for those of you who are invested in sustainability, one area to focus on is purchasing and procurement. And over the last year and a half, we've talked to purchasers around the world. And many purchasers now obviously already care about sustainability, and they have sustainable procurement programs. And they look at, within the option of buying IT, desktops and laptops and televisions and such, are there sustainable versions of it? And there are. And eco-labels are a way to identify, hi, I'm a sustainable version. But increasingly, it's not enough to just say, I'm buying a sustainable product. So what? Sustainable, what does that mean? What have I done? Have I addressed e-waste? Have I reduced climate change? Have I improved the health and well-being of the people who are both using and making the product? Can you tell me that? And any of you in the audience, do you know the impact of the products you bought? Because you've had it. Well, that's what purchasers are asking around the world. Next slide. And in fact, the interviews that we had over the last year and a half is we've understood that when purchasers think about the impact of their procurement, especially large scale, so by that I mean countries and cities and states, and even big Fortune 500 firms, now they're saying not just sustainable procurement, it's sustainable procurement with an eye towards the impact. And so the impacts that they're seeking to address are climate change. Of course. Why? Because we're experiencing it. And so what does a sustainable technology that addresses climate change, what is it looking at? Well, at a high level, as you see here in the technology sector, a lot of the climate change, of course, still focuses on reduction in energy use. But as I mentioned, not just in the use phase of that product, but also in the manufacturing and assembly phases. It looks a lot at particularly F-gases, fluorinated gases, because not all greenhouse gases are the same. Some in smaller amounts have much longer and much more forceful and negative impacts. F-gases are those. And the tech sector actually is the home of F-gases. So looking at the F-gases, particularly in the manufacturing, it's looking at embodied carbon. If you don't know about embodied carbon, that's something to get acquainted with as well. So there's definitely a focus on technology products and their role in climate change mitigation and things that you can set as criteria for those products to actually reduce climate change. Along with that, there's a focus on sustainable use of resources. We talked about life cycle and the phases of a product. Well, extractive, how do you actually get the things out of the ground? And why are you actually pulling them out of the ground? If you already have some products, why aren't you just reusing them? And do you really need to have a new product as quickly? Can't you repair it? So there's a lot of focus now also on sustainable procurement and whether or not credible, sustainable technology is able to be repaired, is able to be refurbished, whether or not it is comprised of recycled content. The more that you use recycled materials, the less you have to pull out of the ground. So there's a lot of emphasis, along with climate change mitigation and how does the product facilitate mitigation of climate change, whether or not a product is actually slowing down the use of virgin resources, and whether or not it is increasingly able to be kept and be used for this purpose for as long as possible. Another two areas that we're seeing for purchasers, and they're now looking at it, hopefully you're considering as well as you're buying your products, is reductions of chemicals of concern. Now, early on during the start of technology sector and our increasing use of it, there was a long list of chemicals where there was concern of just having the technology close to us might be exposing us. A lot of those things have been addressed, not all, but a lot of them. So there's a lot of focus now on not just the chemicals of exposure for you, the user, but how about the chemicals of exposure for those workers who are putting those products together for your use? Or was mentioned the chemicals that those who are trying to recycle those products are exposed to, because they're pulling them apart. So chemicals of concern is a big area for technology, and purchasers are starting to narrow in and try to identify, as they make purchasing decisions, where there are products that actually address them. And again, not only in the use of them, but actually the manufacture, assembly, and end of life. And then lastly, there is this ongoing interest, and I know we're talking about green teams, but I know that part of green is sustainability. Sustainability also means social. And increasingly, when you're thinking about technology, it's not just the environmental impact, it's the social impact. Even this conversation about chemicals, the social impact on worker health. So here you've got purchasers who really want to make sure that when they're buying technology, they're buying technology that also addresses social impact. So through the product life cycle, but also how the technology is used. So there's a great interest in access to technology, whether or not technology is furthering social justice and social equity. So a lot of interest now moving away from sustainable procurement to actually looking at what am I doing when I buy a product and bucketing it into these four types of impacts. Next slide, please. So sustainability is really important. And this is where I would normally say, so go out and buy sustainable products. You as a purchaser, you have impact, and there's usually some kind of motivating music, if I'm able to do it correctly, that comes up in a crescendo. But we're not at the close, because we thought we had it covered with sustainability. Not anymore. Now we're facing the transition from sustainability to circularity. So the conveners of this wonderful event kindly pointed the camera at the room. And granted, the room is a small postage stamp, and you can well imagine you in it are even smaller. I'd say you look like very happy and engrossed ants at the moment. But we're going to try this. I'm going to ask those of you in the room, and I'm sorry for those of you who are participating via Zoom, I can't see your response, but how many of you have an understanding of what is different between sustainability and circularity? Anybody? Are there any hands being raised there? I can't quite tell. Ha! We have one. Ha! This is important. So I think I see some others, which is great. And I think some of you are now tentatively raising your hand because you're reading the slide and you're like, if her motivation is to actually have somebody come here with a microphone and have me say what it is, even I know how to read a slide and go ahead and communicate that back. And you're right, you would be safe. But it's true. We're seeing now in the world of sustainability a move from sustainability to circularity. And that's something that I wanted to address. Not just the power of purchasing that's important, it's the power of purchasing circular products and services. What are we talking about here? Well, it's an important difference. But as you see here, sustainability has really focused on using resources until the utility is complete. There's a lot of efficiencies and making sure you're reducing energy use and you're scoping it. It's a conversation about efficiency and reduction. Circularity isn't the same. Basically, when you're talking about circularity, you're looking at that process and you're moving away from something that's linear, that at the end of the day, you're going to have waste, to where it's not linear, it's, wait for it, circular. So what's the consequence of that? We're not talking waste. Now, I didn't quite see some physics folks there, which is good because I always get you can't have an absolute non-waste. It's not going to, and then they get very technical very quickly. So we'll save that for a different time. But basically, when we're talking about circularity now, especially in the technology sector, what we're really thinking about is how much can we take those products that all of us rely on and bring them back into a material flow? How can we make sure that they don't go as part of the #1 waste stream globally, e-waste? Instead, that they become feedstock for something else. And how do we do it to where it's not downcycling, so you're not truly getting the utility, you're just kind of extending it, but you're really keeping it at the same utility level. You're really reutilizing it. Therefore, you're really minimizing the use of virgin resources, right? So it's both looking at the fact that less virgin resources and less waste. Circularity. Next slide. So what does that mean that that's moving us to? Well, it means it's a driver for new training and new jobs. Why? Because it's a whole new paradigm. It's one in which shifting to a systems thinking. We're really embedded in systems. And it means that you're starting to design technology to where you're designing out waste, designing out pollution. It means that you're really thinking about, how do I keep that product in constant use? You're maximizing repairability. You're maximizing refurbishment, but you're also thinking about the fact that when this product really stops being able to be supported that way, how do you bring it back into a material flow? Maybe not for your company, but some other company, maybe even in another sector. And then instead of thinking about using less, you start thinking about, how do we actually regenerate those natural systems that we've been relying on? How do we put back the big kind of holes that we've created? And purchasers play a role in this too, because in the same way that when they start asking for sustainable products, when they start asking for circular products, it drives demand. And there's nothing that makes brands pay attention than demand. So this is important, especially large-scale demand. So great. Now you're going to go out and you're going to look for circular products, right? Well, it's got a little bit of a problem here, because we're still at the start of actually creating a circular system that'll give us those products. We're really, really doing well on sustainable products, but we're at the start of circularity. That's exciting, because you're at the start of your impact as well. And so isn't it great to be starting at a time when there's this monumental shift that's happening? I'm kind of jealous. I wish I were a little younger myself. But here's a little bit about the opportunity. Next slide. So what does a circular society need? Well, if you're looking at technology, there is something called the Circular Electronics Partnership. And my organization, Global Electronics Council, is very honored to be invited to be a founding member. And it tries at a very high level to say, okay, how are we moving this existing linear electronic sector to a circular one? And it identifies a number of ways of doing so. And so I invite you, even though I know it does have an environmental consequence, to Google and find the Circular Electronics Partnership and read the roadmap. As part of that roadmap, you see highlighted here with the red box, there's a focus on procurement and the power of the purchaser in signaling demand. because that's what's necessary to actually incentivize major brands to change behavior, to actually make circular products. What do they need to change? Different. Well, we talked about the difference between sustainability and circularity. What does it mean as far as the job opportunities? Where are those? Next slide. Well, those start looking at different areas of impact. And here, just real quickly, we think so much about the ability to drive circular procurement as a way to change brand behavior that we've actually done a global campaign. And you can go to our website and you can read about how we're really trying to get large-scale purchasers to demand credible circular products and services. But I'll let you look at that at your own time. Let's go back to, so what are the actual job opportunities that are available? What needs to be solved as a challenge to get us to a circular electronic sector? Next slide. Well, what it is a focus on a new way of thinking. But first, if you notice here on the left, it's circular design. As was mentioned, it's really thinking about technology to where you're designing out the need for it to ever be waste. Now, I wish I could tell you, oh, that means this and this and this. But if I knew that, well, then it wouldn't be still at the beginning. I can tell you that things such as 3D printing that we're talking about is part of that circular design. 3D printing allows you to be able to actually print on site. You take a lot of stress off of the supply chain. You're not having to put lots of components together into an airplane or a train or a ship and bring them to other places, just to go ahead and manufacture assemblies, to then take those products, put them in a train and a plane and a ship, and take them back to those who actually want to buy them. So 3D printing is a significant portion of what this whole new design might be. That's designing a new supply chain. But here we're actually talking about designing new products. And so for those of you who are engineers and who are in electrical engineering, there's a huge opportunity. And we need your intellectual investment in bringing us to a circular reality. Another area, which is a systems component, is logistics. Now, I know that probably doesn't sound sexy to some, but boy, is it a really challenging problem area. And for those of us who, I'm a systems modeler, really gets into system design, this is a fascinating area to look at. So what we're used to is that linear system, right? It says here, forward logistics program. We were only worried about getting the extractive, getting the manufacture, the assembly, putting it in the hands of the consumer. We were done. Not any longer, and especially not when you're talking about circularity. Now you've got to figure out, how do I get it back? How do I get you, who I know those of you in the audience and on Zoom probably have a number of your mobile phones and a bedside table, or that old laptop, where was that in my closet? How do we get you to give those to us? And how do we then take those to recyclers who are able to pull materials out? And how do we make sure that then those materials actually get reused? And we hope they were designed so that those things could be broken apart and reused. And then how do we get them to some place you can put them in a material flow? And how do we? That's the reverse logistics process. And that's a major challenge if we're talking about circularity. Next slide. And then, of course, where is there a major opportunity? Well, hello, sustainable procurement. It used to be that you could focus on pretty much the environmental. Now, under the guise of sustainability, you have to focus on social as well. And of course, all of it had to make economic sense, right? You couldn't buy a sustainable product and it costs so much more than non-sustainable. Wouldn't work. Businesses would go out of business. So it's the triple bottom line. It all has to balance. Now you have to overlay it with circularity. And you have to understand, how do you look for circular products as part of procurement? And that's super exciting. And that's what gets me up in the morning, because it's a huge opportunity. It's doing something that everybody does. Everybody buys. Individuals, organizations, government, large corporations. But everybody can use that purchasing power to make a difference. And so it's a really cool way to make a difference. So for those of you who haven't thought about I'm going to use my business degree and go into procurement, I challenge you. This is a great area if you care about sustainability and making that impact you want to go into. So with that, next slide, I hope I've given you a bit of an understanding about the power of procurement, what it means when you start talking about technology, the fact that we're buying a lot of it, but we're even using technology to buy it. The act of doing that has environmental and social consequences. And we need to think about those when we do it. We need to think about not only buying sustainable products, but increasingly buying circular products. And what is that? And what's your role in that? You play a large role both in being the leaders of the future generation. You're the ones who are going to be populating the cities and the states and the national level government making those decisions, but you're also going to be the leaders in corporations and in the nonprofit, right? Like mine. And so you need to know about the power of procurement and that transition from sustainable to circular. And so hopefully I've given you some food for thought. What I also like to do is invite you to visit our organization online and learn about some of the tools and resources we provide. Again, we have seen significant gain in serving as a stimulus to change IT companies by having purchasers actually look for, prefer, and then buy sustainable IT products. It's really a really great way for those companies to make the case that we should change our product design, our supply chain, our logistics behaviors because we see the demand. We saw the movie about the build it and they will come, and brands don't work that way. They don't build things and hope a purchaser shows up. They need to see that purchase the power. And you're part of that solution. So our organization, as I mentioned, is a nonprofit. We run an eco-label called EPEAT. It is the eco-label used by most large-scale purchasers within the world who are buying credible, sustainable IT products. We also provide contract examples. What I actually do when I'm doing a contract to ask for sustainable technology. We actually have workshops, and you're more than welcome to attend. We have webinars, everything that we can think of. We make this freely available to really empower purchasers to prefer sustainable products. So I hope that my comments were interesting today. I don't know if there is time for questions or if anybody has any, but I'm more than welcome to entertain them. With that, next slide, please.
Thank you so much. That was really great. I think we're just a little bit tight on time, so I think we're going to hold questions and recommend that folks get in touch with you. But I guess I just wanted to kind of share that, the first time that I had the pleasure of talking with Nancy, I don't know if you remember, but Oregon and Washington and California were on fire not too long ago.
Yep.
And you could actually see the flames reflected in her glasses. And she said, Amy, I'm all packed up, but I'm going to be evacuated within the hour. And I said, we'll talk to you later. And she said, no, this is important. So just know the level of importance that she places on these topics and on your opportunity to make a difference. And she's safe and she's back, but it all ties together. I mean, the wildfires and the work that you're doing. So thank you, Nancy. Thank you so much.
Thank you for this opportunity.
All right, so we're going to move on and introduce 6 more teams now. And this ties right into the whole life cycle assessment. I'm going to introduce the New Jersey Transit team next. New Jersey Transit, we've worked with in the past, and we're really excited to work with again. They're a large state-owned transportation system employing up to 11,000 people and with an annual operating budget of $2.6 billion. New Jersey Transit is focused on meeting New Jersey's energy goals while looking toward the long-term end of life for the equipment they are investing in now. As such, New Jersey Transit is in the process of converting to more environmentally friendly energy sources, and this year's green team will assist in doing so. So the New Jersey Transit team will work on a report detailing the general EV bus technology, electric vehicle bus technology components of transit vehicles and related economic and environmental aspects, including literature review of life cycle assessments that have been conducted for EV batteries for buses, and to provide a comparative review of currently commercially available battery technologies for battery electric buses, develop a basic environmental analysis of the currently commercially available battery technologies for battery electric buses, including environmental and economic implications of the extraction of raw materials, processing of materials, and end of life of the battery technologies, as well as any pros and cons of each of those technologies, including but not limited to useful life, second life, and recyclability. So I want to know more about second life. Comparison of these battery technologies to the currently available diesel combustion buses, identify any data or knowledge gaps, and recommend next steps to expand upon the environmental analysis of battery electric buses in order to complete a comprehensive life cycle assessment, economic and environmental. And I'd like to introduce you to the New Jersey Transit team.
Hello, everyone. My name is Christian Deason, and I'm studying electrical engineering at Stevens Institute of Technology.
Hello, my name is Stephanie Cabrejos. My major is chemical engineering, and I'm studying at the New Jersey Institute of Technology.
Hey everyone, my name is Ryan Jin. I study economics at Swarthmore College.
Hi everyone, my name is Karen Solis, and I study computer engineering at Texas Tech University.
Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Dickin. I go to Stockton University and I study sustainability.
That's our New Jersey Transit team. Next up, we have Prudential. Prudential is the parent Fortune 500 company that has subsidiaries that provide insurance, investment management, and other financial products and services in over 30 countries. Prudential Financial ranks among the top 10 largest institutional asset managers in the world with more than 1.66 trillion in assets under management. This year's team for Prudential will be providing research on internal corporate green team structures and best practices, summarizing corporate green team case studies, developing a survey and interviewing the leader and members of 7 current Prudential green teams, reaching out to competitors and other comparable organizations to interview and survey them on their internal green team practices, starting with any suggested organizations and contacts, and using this information to update and create a new green team toolkit for Prudential that will provide resources for the green teams, highlight different opportunities, and improve collaboration and cooperation across the 7 chapters. This year's Prudential green team is going to introduce themselves now.
Hi, my name is Regina Fink, and I'm an environmental studies major at Williams College.
Thanks for coming, everyone. My name is Colin Slocum. I'm a student at Rutgers University, and my major is environmental science.
Hello, everyone. My name is Christopher Morera. I study public health at the College of New Jersey.
Hi, everyone. My name is Haley Spinks. I study English at Montclair State University.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bobby Yazzie, and I study economics at the University of Virginia.
Thank you. Next up is Team PSEG. Remember I said there's always 5 on a team? I'll get to that in just a minute. And I need to mention for all of these teams, we put 1 major down for most everybody, but all of our interns have many different majors, double majors, triple majors. They have many concentrations, minors, and you're not getting a whole representation of all of the different things that they're studying. So you really need to talk to them and learn more. But there's a lot more to each of our interns than we've got on this slide. So PSEG, Public Service Enterprise Group Incorporated, is New Jersey's oldest and largest investor-owned utility, regulated gas and electric utility company serving 2.3 million electric customers and 1.9 million gas customers, approximately 70% of the state's population. PSEG has approximately $50.1 billion in assets and $9.6 billion in revenues. and the headquarters is in Newark, New Jersey. This year, the PSEG team will research and analyze waste generation and reduction strategies for PSEG, address and develop an environmental justice initiative focused on climate vulnerability assessment for EJ communities. And this will incorporate a weather risk assessment and mapping in a variety of scenarios, including the use of New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection's Overburdened Communities map. They will undertake a taxonomy initiative examining criteria used by financial organizations to determine what is green within the energy and other sectors. So additionally, back to the sixth team member, we're piloting a new aspect of green teams with this team this year. So this year we'll be piloting a micro internship where the last member that will introduce himself will be working with the team some of the time throughout the summer. And then he'll be able to work during the academic year on this or other projects. Here's this year's PSEG Green Team.
Hi, everyone. My name is Pia Youssef. I go to Rowan University and I study economics.
Hello, my name is Miranda Bretz. I go to Montclair State University and I'm studying sustainability science.
Hello, my name is Megan DiMatteo. I attend Stockton University studying environmental science.
Hello, my name is Matthew Murray, and I'm studying psychology at Montclair State University.
Hi, my name is Michael Chilinsky. I go to Rowan University, and I study computing and informatics.
Hello, my name is Abar Bugu. I'm a senior computer engineer major from Hampton University.
That is our 2021 PSEG Green Team. Next up is Solar Landscape. Solar Landscape is the largest developer and owner of community solar projects in New Jersey. Founded in New Jersey in 2012, they've installed more than 110 high-quality commercial solar projects, removing approximately 6,000 tons of climate-altering carbon dioxide from our air. These efforts to build community solar are part of New Jersey's larger commitment to 100% clean energy by 2050. Through the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities Community Solar Energy Pilot Program, Solar Landscape has been able to play a role in helping New Jersey achieve its clean energy goals. This year, the Solar Landscape Green Team will make a sustainability case and package to present to nonprofits, local businesses, and show how to increase their environmental, social, and corporate governance goals by supporting community solar and partnering to serve the community. They will attempt to do outreach in current round 2 locations. They'll also plan out and attend a community solar kickoff event within one of the communities that have been approved for round 2 community solar, and develop an easy to follow action plan for us to have similar events in other community solar project areas. And then they'll build out a social media campaign for Solar Landscape's clean energy community partners to educate their followers and community members. Here's our Solar Landscape team.
Hello, my name is Arden Gersberg. I am a student at Radford College and I am majoring in environmental studies.
Hello, my name is David Rosano. I attend Marist College and I am currently studying political science.
Hello, my name is Damian Green and I go to Montclair State University and I'm majoring in language, business, and culture.
Hi, my name is Paulina Robles. I go to the University of Puerto Rico in Aguadilla and I major in environmental technology.
Hi, my name is Heather Corzin and I am a business major at Mary Baldwin University.
Thank you. Next up, we have the Stephen Winter Associates team. Stephen Winter Associates, Inc. provides research, consulting, and advisory services to improve commercial, residential, and multifamily built environments for the private and public sector. They specialize in energy, sustainability, and accessibility consulting, as well as certification, research and development, and compliance services. This year, the Stephen Winters Associates Green Team will perform virtual energy audit assessments on multifamily affordable housing buildings that define site-specific energy upgrades using templates and tools developed by Stephen Winter Associates. They'll learn to use and apply a platform that will deliver virtual energy audit assessments at scale. They'll create a list of projects for potential local and federal stimulus infrastructure investments geared toward delivering decarbonization benefits to environmental justice communities, and collect information on skills and gaps in training needs and abilities of existing building maintenance staff in these buildings in order to identify what kinds of building upgrades these staff could undertake themselves and the tools, resources, and training they would need to undertake such upgrades. They'll investigate and document how best to support multifamily building owners and managers on decarbonization through Stephen Winter Associates Smart Building Insights platform, and conduct research and make recommendations to expand virtual energy audits from New York City buildings to buildings in New Jersey and other parts of the country. Here's our Stephen Winters Associates team.
Hi, everyone. My name is Linus Levy. I go to Stony Brook University, and I'm majoring in environmental design, policy, and planning.
Hello, my name is Emily Sanchez. I go to the University of Illinois at Chicago, and I study political science.
Hello, my name is Irene Posada, and I go to The Ohio State University. I study civil engineering.
Hello, my name is Maria Reyes, and I'm an environmental studies major at Haverford College.
Hello, my name is Gustav Van Walsen, and I attend Rowan University studying electrical and computer engineering.
Thank you. Last but not least, we have the team for the Trust for Public Land, TPL. The Trust for Public Land was founded in 1972 by a diverse coalition that believed all people need and deserve access to nature and the outdoors close to home in the cities and communities where they live as a matter of health, equity, and justice. While many conservation organizations set aside wildlands for biodiversity or habitat restoration, TPL's founders sought to bring the benefits of parks and nature to the places people and communities needed them most. The Trust for Public Land Green Team will provide an analysis of stormwater management of the parks and playgrounds TPL has developed specifically in Newark and the broader New Jersey area. They'll quantify the amount of stormwater in TPL parks and playgrounds that they manage as a base for extrapolating that information to potential initiatives in other communities and statewide, and determine how stormwater flow and infiltration would be affected by presence of impervious, semi-pervious, and pervious surfaces and green infrastructure. I'll let the TPL team introduce themselves to you.
Hello, I'm Alexandria Seifert. I go to Rutgers University and I study environmental engineering.
Hello, everyone. My name is Emily DeMaio. I attend Stony Brook University, where I major in environmental design, policy, and planning.
Hello, my name is Joseph Woodrick. I study coastal environmental studies at Stony Brook University.
Hello, my name is Carla Vasquez. I go to the New Jersey Institute of Technology, and I study architecture.
Hi, my name is Sydney Wright. I attend Rowan University studying civil and environmental engineering.
Thank you. I have a few thank yous to say. Actually, I have a lot of thank yous to say. So we're not quite done yet. I have some other information to share. I'm going to step through these thank yous. That covers our projects that we intend to tackle this summer. And now you've been introduced to the amazing cohort of students working on them. I would like to thank our partnering academic institutions, those faculty and staff who have taken time to review applications. There were a lot. And interview students, provide content, lectures, and activities for the program. Our consultants and advisors, our dean's office for their support in navigating the processes and connecting with many of the offices involved in hiring, paying, teaching, training, ordering, and securing grant funding. And we would especially like to thank our hosting organizations. I would like to thank all of our excellent staff, including our project managers, Amelia Miller, who's been with us for 4 years now, Vicki Olivier, who's been here 4 years. She took a year off, but we'll let her pass on that. And our program coordinator, Tirza Mills, who's been with us for a couple of years as well. We'd also like to thank our assistant project managers this summer, Our staff is full of people with really great expertise in areas that I don't have expertise, so I'm very grateful to all of them. And we'd like to thank our resource specialists, many people who work with us to provide specific expertise and guidance. We are deeply grateful to our funders, and especially for continued funding by our longtime partner, PSEG and the PSEG Foundation. And this is one of our new components. So we must thank our family members who are supporting members of the Green Teams, April's mom for driving her here from Georgia, and Sabina's family in Nepal, especially her grandmother for sharing her with us this summer, and all of the equally supportive family members, including those who support our students that might be blood-related family or they might not be. So we use this definition of family very broadly and inclusively to mean any supporter or advocate. This year, as mentioned, we are starting many new things, and one of them is inclusion of families in our programs, thanks in large part to a National Science Foundation grant for Hispanic serving institutions, of which Montclair State is one. And again, if you'd like to follow us on social media, you might see some of the things that are happening throughout the summer. You can post, you can use the hashtags. And if you go to www.montclair.edu/ISS, you can find many resources there, as well as a link to our 2022 corporate and hosting organization applications, because we've already had people asking, so that's open. Thank you all for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you on August 4th.